It's something most people never even think about after taking the oath. The day you finally become a U.S. citizen feels like crossing the finish line. You raise your hand, you promise loyalty, you get that blue passport, and you think, I made it. This is forever. But what if it isn't? What if the very citizenship you worked years to earn could one day be taken away, quietly, through a process most Americans don't even know exists? Imagine waking up one morning to a letter from the government saying your citizenship is under review. No, it's not a scam. It's real, and it's happening more often than you'd believe. Today, I'm going to tell you about 10 new denaturalization rules that could put your U.S. citizenship at risk. Rules that sound almost unbelievable, but they're being discussed, shaped, and tested as the government tries to tighten its control over who truly gets to call themselves American. Picture this: a man named Daniel, who became a citizen 10 years ago after building a small business, paying his taxes, and raising two kids. One day, an officer knocks on his door with questions about something he filled out incorrectly on his citizenship form back in 2014. A missing middle name, a minor mistake about a previous address, and suddenly, he's in court defending his right to stay in the only country his children have ever known. This isn't fiction. It's the new reality that could become much more common if these proposed rules become law. Because now, even the smallest inconsistencies can trigger a deeper review. And that's just the beginning. Over the past few years, there's been growing talk inside immigration offices and legal circles about increasing citizenship accountability. It sounds harmless on paper, but in practice, it means more investigations, more background rechecks, and more reasons for the government to question your past. Under the first proposed rule, even a minor undisclosed traffic offense or an administrative fine overseas could open a denaturalization review if it's seen as dishonest conduct. Think about that. A parking ticket from years ago could be interpreted as deception if you didn't list it correctly on your original application. The second proposed rule would allow retroactive reviews of citizenship applications processed during periods of administrative overload, meaning that if your file was approved during a time when the system was backlogged, it could be re-evaluated for potential oversights. So even if you've lived here for decades, your paperwork could be reopened, line by line. The third hypothetical rule floating around aims to scrutinize social media activity for signs of disloyalty or foreign allegiance. A photo posted with the wrong flag emoji, a supportive comment on a controversial political issue abroad. These could be interpreted as conflicting with the oath of allegiance. It sounds far-fetched, but in an age where digital footprints define character, the government could use online activity as evidence of intent. The fourth rule would expand the definition of fraudulent intent to include patterns of misrepresentation, meaning even unintentional mistakes across multiple forms could be treated as deliberate. Maybe you forgot to list an old job on your visa form, or maybe your travel history doesn't perfectly match airline records. Suddenly, it looks like a pattern, and that pattern could be used to revoke what you've spent years earning. The fifth proposal targets dual nationals more directly. It suggests that if a naturalized citizen repeatedly travels to their country of origin and engages in business or politics there, it could be viewed as maintaining active foreign ties, a phrase that could justify denaturalization proceedings. Imagine visiting your aging parents overseas twice a year, only to be told that your trips raise questions about allegiance. The sixth rule is even broader. It proposes allowing denaturalization for citizens found guilty of serious moral offenses within the first 10 years after naturalization, even if those offenses aren't immigration-related. That could mean anything from a criminal conviction to charges of financial misconduct. The danger here is that it blurs the line between criminal law and citizenship rights, creating a gray zone where the government decides who is worthy of being American. The seventh proposed rule would link tax compliance to continued citizenship status. Under this scenario, long-term tax underpayment or unresolved disputes with the IRS could lead to investigations into false representation of good moral character. So, if your accountant made an error years ago and it's only discovered now, you might suddenly find your citizenship questioned. The eighth rule is more technical but equally alarming. It introduces the idea of citizenship audits, random reviews conducted on naturalized citizens every decade. You could receive a notice requesting updated proof of residence, tax filings, and travel history just to confirm your ongoing eligibility. Essentially, your citizenship wouldn't just be a one-time status. It would be something you'd have to keep proving over and over again. The ninth proposed rule centers around national security concerns. It would allow the government to strip citizenship from individuals suspected of aiding or supporting entities considered hostile to the U.S., even without a formal conviction. The threshold for evidence would be lower, relying on intelligence assessments rather than court verdicts. This opens the door to mistakes, misunderstandings, or politically motivated accusations. And the 10th and final rule, perhaps the most controversial, introduces a generational review clause, suggesting that the citizenship of descendants of denaturalized individuals could also be reevaluated if their status was originally derived from the person who lost citizenship. Imagine being born here, going to American schools, speaking only English, and suddenly being told your parents' old paperwork might affect your right to stay. Now, you might be wondering, could any of this really happen? The truth is, every major change in immigration law starts as an idea. Some are debated quietly, others gain traction when fear or politics drive attention. And while these rules are hypothetical, they're inspired by real trends: tighter border policies, expanded surveillance, and growing emphasis on national security loyalty. We've already seen offices reopen old cases using digital databases, scanning fingerprints from decades ago, and cross-checking citizenship records with criminal databases. The technology now exists to re-examine every single naturalization file in seconds. The question isn't whether the government can, it's whether they will. What makes all this even scarier is how silently it could happen. Denaturalization doesn't require a public announcement. It begins with an investigation that you might not even know about until months later. Many cases start with a simple letter asking for clarification about past documents. By the time you realize what's happening, you're in front of a federal judge defending not your innocence, but your right to belong. And the process is expensive, draining, and emotionally devastating. Imagine having to prove, all over again, that you deserve the passport you've carried for years. Imagine your family's fear, your children's confusion, your life hanging in limbo while your citizenship status is debated like a paperwork error. But here's the thing: awareness is your best defense. Most people lose cases like these because they never saw them coming. They ignore a notice, miss a hearing, or fail to update a document. Staying informed, keeping your paperwork consistent, and understanding your rights could be the difference between peace of mind and panic. The goal of this video isn't to scare you, it's to wake you up. Citizenship isn't just a status, it's a responsibility, and in an era of increasing scrutiny, it's more important than ever to protect it. The United States was built on the promise that anyone who works hard and believes in freedom can become one of its people. But that promise depends on fairness, on laws that protect rather than punish, and on citizens who stay vigilant when the rules start to change. So the next time someone says, "Once a citizen, always a citizen," remember that in today's world, it might not be that simple. These 10 proposed rules, even if they never become law, reflect a mindset that's growing stronger, a belief that citizenship isn't permanent, but conditional. If that idea becomes reality, millions could live with uncertainty hanging over their heads. And that's why it matters to talk about it now, before it's too late. Because the more people understand how fragile that blue passport could become, the more pressure there will be to protect the very meaning of being American. If you're watching this and you've gone through the long journey of becoming a citizen, take a moment to appreciate it, but also to defend it. This isn't about fear. It's about awareness, and awareness is power. So, what do you think? Could these denaturalization rules ever actually happen? Or are they just another wave of political talk meant to keep people afraid? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Share this video with someone who might need to hear it, and stay tuned. Because in a world where even citizenship can be questioned, the truth is something we all need to hold on to. And as we close this conversation, I want you to think about what citizenship really means to you. For some people, it's a piece of paper or a passport. For others, it's the home they built from scratch, the safety they fought to find, and the future they dreamed of giving their children. It's the comfort of waking up knowing you belong somewhere, that you've earned your place. Losing that, or even fearing that you could lose it, shakes something deep inside us. Because it's not just about legality, it's about identity, about feeling safe enough to plan your life, buy a home, and believe your tomorrow will still be here when you wake up. These new denaturalization ideas might sound like government policy debates, but they're really about people, real people who've worked hard, paid taxes, and believed in the American promise. They're about the family that fled danger to find freedom. They're about the nurse who became a citizen during the pandemic after saving lives. They're about the construction worker who built the schools and homes that make up our neighborhoods. When we talk about losing citizenship, we're not just talking about forms and files. We're talking about tearing families apart, erasing decades of hard work, and shaking the very trust that makes a nation strong. If there's one thing history teaches us, it's that rights are rarely taken all at once. They're chipped away, one rule at a time, while people are too busy or too scared to notice. That's why awareness matters more than ever. Because once you know what's happening, you can speak up. You can ask questions. You can make sure lawmakers understand that every policy has a human story behind it. And you can make sure your community stays informed, vigilant, and united. The truth is, the power to protect citizenship doesn't lie only with the government. It lies with every person who refuses to stay silent when the rules start to change. So if you've watched this far, thank you for caring enough to learn. Share this video with someone who might not know how fragile their citizenship could be. Leave a comment below with your story. Were you born here? Or did you earn your place like millions of others? Let's make this a conversation, not a fear. Because knowledge isn't just information, it's protection. The more people know, the stronger we become. Until next time, stay aware, stay informed, and never take your citizenship for granted. Because in today's world, being informed is the most powerful way to stay free.